Hi there, Steve Coppin here. It's the 23rd of December. My wife has been baking cookies and preparing for our Christmas dinner tomorrow night all day long. I've been wrapping presents. But I want to talk about something that came to me while I was wrapping my presents. I think one of the most frequently, perhaps the most frequently asked question from newcomers to LingQ is, where do I start? Where is lesson one? And I usually answer, it doesn't matter. I say, pick something at your level, because in our library you can choose beginner 1, 2, intermediate 1, 2. Choose something at your level, choose something you're kind of interested in. You can even look for content that has translations, because some of them do, and you can search for those items that have translations to help you along. But in principle, it doesn't matter. And the reason I sort of wanted to do a video on that is as I was wrapping my presents, I was listening to Korean. Guess what? And I started by listening to something somewhat difficult, which I didn't understand much of. And then I went back to our beginning series at LingQ, Who is She and Eating Out, which I have done quite a long time ago, 2 months ago. And I think I even attempted it maybe a year or so ago, or 2 years ago, when I was in Japan and tried to ramp up my Korean a little bit. So I've done it. Supposedly I know it. But in fact, when I listen to it, there's lots of words that I don't understand. So then I went back to LingQ and I started reading it. And of course, all the words are either white or yellow. They're known, or I've been studying them. But of course, there's words that I have subsequently forgotten or never did learn. But it's wonderful to go over lessons that you have done before. And no matter how many times I listened before, certain things would not stick, and certain things seemed strange. It's almost as if Korean as a language doesn't make sense, because the way they string words together is, to me, when I first started out, quite illogical. Why would they write it that way? And now, having struggled with more difficult texts, I go back to my beginning lessons at LingQ, and it really, I feel that I'm learning every word that I had forgotten, because it's now so easy for me, because I have pushed myself harder to go forward. And I guess what I'm driving at is, you start somewhere in the language with some lessons. You're going to have to go back there again. You should push yourself to do some more difficult lessons. It's kind of anarchic. And it's not unlike the relationships. I mean, it's like having a romance, You don't begin day one asking your partner, where was she born? What does her father do? You got the basics, like lesson 1, we do this, lesson 2. It's a matter of, it just comes at you, however it comes at you, and you have to deal with it. And then it's pleasant to go back. And of course, there's an expression in French, on revient toujours à ses premières amours, which means you always go back to your first love. But in the case of language learning, you should go back to some of the lessons you started with. And it's surprising how much more you pick up on your second pass. Thinking again of French poetry, there was the famous Ballade des Dames du temps jadis, where there's the expression, où sont donc, I think, les neiges d'antan? Où sont donc passées les neiges d'antan? Like, where are the snows of yesteryear? And of course, the snows of yesteryear are no more. But when you're studying language, that's not the case, because your first lessons are still there. You can go back to them, and you should go back to them. And I think I've mentioned this before. It's important to vary the difficulty of what you're doing. Don't try to ace the easy lessons at the beginning, because you won't be able to. Keep forging forward, creating a new path in the snow, so to speak. But then when you go back to that well-trodden path, you'll find it easier. And that's a wonderful feeling. And I think that kind of pushing yourself forward, going back again, that's how you learn. And so it almost doesn't matter where you start, because the language it's not like building a house with blocks. It's very much sort of a fuzzy learning experience, exposing yourself to this living thing called the language, developing a relationship with the language, sometimes pushing the limits, then at other times retreating back to where you are comfortable. And a combination of doing these things eventually helps the language to stick with you. So that's my message here as a result of listening to easy lessons in Korean while wrapping my Christmas presents. And if I don't do another one, which I probably won't before Christmas, I wish everyone a Merry Christmas. There's sometimes some controversy. I think it's highly overblown, but we're not religious in any way at all. But Christmas is a very nice occasion where we get together with family and we have a Christmas tree and we have food and family and exchange gifts. And it's just a very pleasant, cheerful occasion. And so to all of you, regardless of your religious persuasions, Merry Christmas, and I look forward to more exchanges in the new year. Thank you for listening.